I'm Jeff Stanton, Superintendent of the Buckeye Local Schools.
Hello, I'm Mark Donnelly, the new treasurer at Buckeye Local Schools.
We'd like to thank Armstrong Cable for the opportunity to provide information to the Buckeye community regarding Bond Issue 15, which is the opportunity to dramatically improve the facilities of the Buckeye Local Schools for our students and community, not only now, but for our students and community going into the future. Thank you for tuning in to watch us. We're going to follow a question and answer format between Mark and myself, hoping to provide as much information to the community as possible as we head towards Election Day on November 5th. Hopefully, the factual information that we will provide will help you make an informed decision as a voter and for our students both now and in the future. Following the presentation, if either of us can answer any questions, please email or call us. Our email addresses and our phone numbers will be part of the presentation at the end. In addition, the Buckeye Local Schools District webpage, which is www.buckeyeschools.org, has a fantastic facilities page as well, and it's updated and comprehensive. We encourage you to not only reach out to Mark or myself with any questions you may have, but also to look at the information that is on our facilities page of our district website. Lastly, the community newsletter from the school district will come out. Actually, some of you may have received it already. It will be arriving in your homes soon, as it was mailed to all homes in the district for this edition of the newsletter. And we're going to try to do that for every edition of the newsletter going forward.
So Jeff, being the new treasurer in the district, can you describe to me and then to the public the history behind how we got to where we're at with the bond issue and how the community was involved?
Sure, Mark, thank you. And Mark identifies himself as the new treasurer. As you know, I am the new superintendent. I've only been here for a little over a year right now. So the two of us don't have a long history with Buckeye, but certainly we have a recent history. The history of our facilities, though, is our facilities, they're old. Okay, there's no other way to minimize that. The reality is our facilities are older. Our newest building is our elementary complex where our primary students and our intermediate students go to school. But even that building was built in 2003. So that building is 21 years old. So our facilities are a little bit dated. Our high school was mid-1970s, 1973-ish. The class of 74, I believe, is the first class from there. And our junior high school was built in 1957. And truthfully, that is our immediate need. The immediate need that we are trying to address with the facilities issue is the need of our junior high school. Our junior high school is not appropriate for our students today or our staff or really even our community. So we need to address that. We are going to address it with our current plan, which is to build a high school. That high school would be built, a brand new high school, would be built on the corner of Wolf and Columbia Roads, right not far from where we are right now, right across the street from our public library. Now people ask me, Jeff, well, you've said that the junior high school is the main issue. Why are you building a high school? That is a decision that was reached by our Community and Facilities Task Force, which I'm going to talk about in the future, part of this presentation. However, we also will have an option to build a junior high school or a middle school sometime in the future. We are not building a junior high school right now. We are not building a middle school right now. At some time in the future, the community, the school board, the superintendent, the treasurer, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years down the road, may decide to build a junior high school or a middle school, and that can be kind of attached to the project that we have right now. Our current junior high school students, once the new high school is built, will go to our current high school. However, that current high school will be updated and modified to make certain that it is an appropriate junior high school.
Correct.
So the plan itself is to take our junior high school students out of the junior high school to an updated junior high school, which is our current high school. Our current high school students would go to the brand new high school when that building is opened. So that's a little bit of the brief history.
Okay, thank you, Jeff.
Thank you. Mark, I'm going to turn the finances over to you, if that's okay. Obviously, when we are talking school construction, we are talking a lot of money. Can you tell us how much this plan is going to cost, and give us a little bit of detail on the cost of this project?
Thank you, Jeff. I would love to explain our financing for the new building. The new building, a new high school that's being proposed, is a $69 million facility. Our bond issue is a $59 million ask. And how the rest of that is financed, let me explain. We're going to go out for what's called a Certificate of Participation Loan, a COPS loan. You've probably heard the term used many times in the last couple of months. That loan is something the district takes on itself, and we assign a source of revenue to pay for that loan payment over the course of the 25, 30 years of the length of the loan. Now, that does not increase the cost of the taxpayers. That is simply something the board has used to, they've used it in the past to help with the elementary building expansion, to add science classrooms on years ago. And we plan on using it again this time to reduce the cost of the taxpayers. There is no vote of the public required for a COPS loan, because a COPS loan is approved by the board and we are not asking the taxpayers to fund any of it. There's other pieces of the project too. The $5 million renovation of the high school, the school district is not asking the taxpayers to pay for that through this bond issue. The bond issue is going solely for the high school. The school district will be putting in $5 million of its cash reserves to pay for the renovation of the high school into the junior high. These were some of the creative financing things I think were requested by the taxpayers after the last attempt at a bond issue. And I think the district and the task force has responded very well, came up with some very viable solutions to help reduce the cost of the taxpayer and put more of the burden onto the district out of our cash reserves and our revenue sources. Also, the bond issue is a $3.92 mil request. This is the lowest millage request for a bond issue in Buckeye's history. I think that goes to show our fiscal responsibility, trying to do everything we can to minimize the burden to the taxpayer.
I like it.
Also, there's one last final thing, Jeff, I forgot to mention. The average price or average value of the home in Buckeye is $279,200. So the average home tax increase for this bond is $32.03 a month, or it's $385 a year. And that is the lowest amount. Like I said, the millage is the lowest amount we've requested in the past. And so we really hope that the taxpayers see it, the efforts and the efforts we've taken on to lower the cost to them and still provide the best educational opportunities for our students.
Thanks, Mark. I got a follow-up question, if that's okay. So you talked about how the appraised home value here in Buckeye, the average is $279,200. We know it would be a 35-year term, and that comes out to $3,203 a month, or $385 a year in additional taxes. But I seem to also know that our elementary complex, which is being taxed right now, is almost paid off. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, you're 100% correct, Jeff. The bond, the final payment on the current bond will be made in November 29th of 2025, a little more than a year from now. And that debt will be 100% paid. And when that debt is paid, the following year, taxes do not need to be assessed for that bond issue any longer, and the average price home taxes will go down by an additional $49 per year. So the increase that we experience with the current request will be reduced when we pay off the old bond 1 year from now. Actually, our position of very low debt and debt about to be paid off is a very enviable position, and it makes it the timing right for us to go out and do this bond issue now for a new facility.
I understand. So again, our elementary school, which was built in 2003, is paid off, and certainly if this levy is successful, our current one, that should have a positive impact on our taxpayers as well, 1 year away.
Yes.
Sure. Well, Mark, I'm going to tell you, I'm a superintendent, I'm an educator, I am not a treasurer. School finance is very complicated. Like I think I have a gentleman's understanding of it, but certainly not to the level that you have. Can you talk a little bit about, you talked about a COPS loan, thank you for that. Can you talk talk to us about maybe the difference between operation money and bond money? Can you talk about how we finance school construction? And maybe even talk, if it's okay with you, can you talk maybe about the OFCC, the Ohio Facilities Construction Commission?
Sure, that is a lot of information. I really don't want to bore people with a lot of the details, but it's important to understand the difference between operational dollars, which turns on the lights, buys school supplies, helps pay for the bus fuel, and it pays for the salaries and benefits and those things. Those operational levies pay for day-to-day operations, as indicated in the name. However, when it comes to a bond levy, that is debt, similar to going out for a mortgage on your home. Now, there's different types of debt. As I mentioned, a COPS loan is a way of financing larger purchases, but the primary source for schools to use to build new facilities is generally a bond issue. That way there's a specific revenue stream that the voters agree to and brings the money in to pay that debt over a period of time. And that's based on the size of the debt as well as the interest rate, etc. But the bond money cannot be used for operational expenses such as salaries, benefits, buying supplies. It's specifically stated in the issue that goes in front of the voters how that money is used for the construction of, and to include, furniture and fixtures, etc. It's a very complex law that covers that language and what a bond can be used for. Also, the COPS loan, our district, as I mentioned before, we've used that in the past. We've used it to finance a science wing at the elementary building. It's not an unusual event for a school to go and get a COPS loan for a smaller capital project.
Okay.
It's not the $50-60 million school. It's a $5 or $6 million smaller, a smaller amount of debt to take care of a smaller construction project. You add on 5 or 6 rooms to a building that it's desperately needed. You can do that on your own with a COPS loan.
Okay. And we are doing that correctly as per the Nexus pipeline?
Well, yes. Our revenue source that we've identified, it has not been board approved, but the conversation is definitely heading that direction, that we would use our Nexus pipeline revenue of about $780,000 a year to dedicate towards payment on the COPS loan. However, everybody knows interest rates are dropping.
Sure. And
to be fiscally responsible to our taxpayers, we are going to very carefully manage the timing of going out for that COPS loan, as well as when the bond is approved by the voters, we will manage very carefully going out for the bond sale to make sure we get the lowest possible interest rate, therefore lowering the burden on taxpayers for the bond itself, but the COPS loan as well, because if we don't have to use $750,000 to pay the COPS loan annually, if we can lower that amount to $700,000 or less, that's just more dollars we have to spend on textbooks and computers for our students.
I understand. And we would be our plan is to partner with the Ohio Facilities Construction Commission on this project.
Yes, and the Ohio Facilities Construction Commission, they've been doing this work with schools since 1997. They have built well over 1,000 schools throughout the state of Ohio. They have a lot of experience, and then I think they started this mostly because they realized schools not only are in need of being replaced and repaired, etc., but school personnel are not necessarily construction experts.
Right.
We don't know all the ins and outs of construction and change orders and what the true cost would be for building a new school. I mean, how do we know a new high school is going to cost us $69 million? That's because the Ohio Schools Facilities Commission has a formula talking about how many students, how many square feet per student at the high school level, and they talk about office space, storage space, and all the good things that you need to run a building that we don't think about as school employees normally. We think about educating kids and getting kids to and from school on school buses. The Ohio Schools Facilities Construction Commission, they are very helpful guiding us along the way. There's different programs we can take part in as far as the expedited local partnership to build early, or we wait till they will partner with us in CFAP. And that's a lot of information. I don't want to get into all the weeds of that, but there are different programs that we can work with the OFCC on, and they are extremely helpful and provide insight into the construction process that we don't have naturally.
Thank you. Excellent. Thank you.
Jeff, I do have a question regarding the bond request that we've done in the past here in Buckeye. Can you explain where we've been in the past with bond requests and what we've learned from
Sure.
maybe those requests?
Sure, thank you, Mark. Yeah, as we both said, we haven't been here very long, either one of us. I think both of our intentions to be here quite a long time. But for right now, I can't give a whole long history of bond requests or operational requests that predate me. But I will specify the bond request for facilities in May of 2023, because that's the most recent bond request that was made of the community. In May of 2023, a district master plan was put together, and the plan at that point was to build a comprehensive 7 through 12 campus. The district master plan called for a building of a new high school, a building of a new junior high school or a middle school, the significant upgrade to all the athletic facilities, a performance arts center, just really an entire secondary campus for part of the entire master plan. I will tell you, in the feedback that I've received, Mark, I really haven't received much feedback that was a bad plan. Right? What the feedback that I've received myself personally, I know a lot of people have received the same feedback, was simply that it was too expensive. The request was $80 million. And I think everybody knows that in May of 2023, the community very clearly said that the request was just too expensive. So, when I came in as a superintendent, I knew we had to address the facilities items that we have in the district. And I thought, how are we going to go about doing this? And we did that by engaging with the task force, which we're going to talk about soon. But in essence, the driving force for us in May of 2023, the main reason that we heard from the community why it wasn't successful is $80 million was just something that the community was not comfortable in supporting and couldn't support. And we were asked to come back with some different plans, which is what we've done. That was the May of 2023 request. The current request in November of 24, as I said, the difference is primarily it's a much lower cost. We have cooperatively found ways to finance it through some of the things you just described. It is a plan to build a high school with the opportunity sometime in the future to build a junior high school or middle school if the community wants that. And that is the main difference of the plans between now and May of 2023.
Okay, so in May of 23, we were not successful. So since that time, we've learned some stuff, we've asked some questions, and I think that we definitely involved the community. I heard stories, I wasn't involved, but I heard about many meetings with the facilities task force. Can you be more specific and explain how the community got involved in the development of the new plan?
Sure, thank you, Mark. Man, that's been one of the most exciting parts about really the last year of the work that myself and many people have done. And I got to give all the credit to the 50 to 55 people that made up the Community and Facilities Task Force. That task force is made up of residents in the community. Some of them have parents in our schools, some have children in our schools. Some of them do not have children in our schools any longer. Maybe they did at one point. Some of them are younger couples just starting out with no children at all. We've had senior citizens on the task force. We've had parents. We've had all walks of life that are here in Buckeye represented on our task force. The reason that we created a task force, Mark, actually comes from results from a community survey that we did last year about this time. Okay. I had been here as a superintendent for a short amount of time, and I felt that once I kind of got my legs underneath me as a superintendent, we knew we needed to start addressing the facilities, because the reality is the issue in our facilities, primarily in our junior high school, are not going away. So we sent out a community survey, and listen, I know that we wish we would have had many, many more people respond to the survey. We put it in as many places as possible to get the response from the community, but I will 100% admit that we weren't successful in getting it to every resident in the community. However, we did have a pretty comprehensive response to the community survey. Okay. We ended up with about 600 responses to that survey. And here's some of the key points that we received from that feedback from our community. The big item that we talked about already is the first thing I'm going to mention. It's the fact that the $80 million was simply too much of a request for this community. So very clearly, the task force, the survey was telling us that we need to lower the cost. Can you find some way, school district, creatively to finance this plan, any plan, with less of a burden on our taxpayers? And the answer to that is yes, with a lot of things that you just described, but also, I think we have to give credit to very astute financial leadership of this school district through former school boards, through current school boards, through former treasurers and superintendents, to hopefully current superintendents and treasurers. There is a long history here of financial stability in our district and financial stewardship. So that has allowed us to respond to the community that has said, is there a way that we can creatively finance this to lessen the impact on our community? The other things that we heard very clearly from the community survey was we needed to see some visuals. We were being asked to support this $80 million plan, and we really didn't have any visuals to take a look at and see what we were being asked to support. So we have been very purposeful. If you've been out and about in the community any time over the course of the last 6 months, you have certainly seen the visuals. If you've looked at our website, you have seen the visuals. And I would recommend to anybody to go to our website. There is a video flyover, Mark, of the
awesome
projected campus that is absolutely fantastic. So that is the visuals have been really cool.
And the visuals, we've been to football games, we've been to open houses, we've been to many events, and a lot of times people don't want to talk to us. They walk straight up to the visuals and they start asking, oh, that's where this is located. What's going to happen with that? And I think that starts the conversation when people see what could be.
Mark, you are exactly correct. The other thing that we heard loud and clear, and remember, I wasn't here. I understand the plan that was put together in May of 2023. I know many of the people that were involved with the plan. I still know them. I'm respectful of all the work they did. Great people put that together in May of 2023. The feedback from the community that we received, though, from the survey, was in some fashion there were members of the community that felt that they weren't listened to. So we have been very purposeful in making certain that the Community and Facility Task Force was really the driving force to the decisions that were made. The school administration, the school board members that are on the task force, myself, you as the new treasurer, former treasurer, we were very purposeful in not making certain we were driving the decisions and we were listening to the community. So those were the three main points, but I've got to talk about that task force even a little bit more. The amount of hours they have put into these meetings, the amount of work that they're doing has just been, it's been awe-inspiring. So for our community task force members that might be watching this, very sincere thank you for all the work you've done, for the support you've put in, the volunteer hours. And that goes for a whole bunch of other people as well who are not on a task force that I know that are working really hard for the benefit of our kids in relation to this facility plan.
So Jeff, there's an awful lot of frequently asked questions, and I don't want to pepper you with a lot of questions here, but there's several. I just want, maybe we should cover some of these. Like, for instance, why now? Why are we going out for this bond issue now?
Yeah, great question. It's certainly a question we've heard a lot. Why now? We've touched on it a little bit already, but Buckeye Junior High School was built in 1957. Its current condition simply does not justify additional expenditures to update the facility, to repair it and upgrade it, right? It is simply time to demolish the junior high school building and construct new facilities for the most conducive student learning environment. Delaying this is only going to increase cost. It'll negatively impact our students' learning. Many of you have been in our junior high school many times. Mark, I am yet to hear many people in this community tell me the junior high school is okay. Everybody kind of realizes the junior high school has to be addressed. We wish there was a way that we can address it without seeking bond money from the community, but that is the only way that we can construct new or upgrade facilities. It simply isn't something that can wait.
So why was this location chosen? Because I think the district owns a lot of land. Why this spot?
Yeah, great question, Mark. And again, this was not a decision that was driven by anybody administratively. We were part of the discussion, but this was a decision that came from our task force members who vetted out multiple locations for potential growth here in the district, and also our work with our pre-architect firms. As we've gone through this campaign here in the last 9 months, we have engaged in relationships with a pre-architect so they can give us some advance notice and some advice. We have engaged in a relationship with a communications firm so we can communicate better with the community, which the community asked us to do. The location comes down to experts decided that was the best location. The corner of Wolf and Columbia Roads is the best location. The other two sites on our campus, Mark, that were vetted were both more towards where our current soccer complex is, where our current elementary complex is. Some of the cost concerns there were we were going to have to put roads in, heading south of the campus. That would have been incredibly cost overrun, just would have been too expensive.
Yes.
The other item of other places on campus was simply that there wasn't enough buildable land in those areas. So it is 100% true that the Buckeye Local Schools have a complex here that it looks like we have all kinds of land that can be built on, but the experts in the field, including the experts on the campus task force, decided that the best location for a new high school would be on the corner of Wolf and Columbia Roads, just to my north.
So when I looked at the drawings, the schematics, the renderings, that are out there, I noticed that where the new high school is proposed to go, the football stadium is no longer there. What's going to happen with the football stadium, and how is that going to be? How's that going to be addressed, and how is that being paid for?
Sure, Mark, thank you very much. Of course, right? If you know where we're located, on the corner of Columbia and Wolf Roads, across the street sits the public library, and just onto our property sits the JV, the community baseball fields now, because we have varsity and JV fields behind us, baseball and softball, but also Alumni Stadium, the football stadium. And the football stadium is incredibly important to this community. Mark, we've talked about this. You're with me on Friday nights.
Yes.
Like Friday nights are fantastic here. Go Bucks and everything we do. We get opportunity to watch our kids, watch the community come out, watch our band perform. But the football stadium itself is also somewhat dated.
Yeah.
And in need of some enhancement and improvements. I'll get into that here in a minute. But when it was determined that the best location for a new high school would be at the corner of Wolf and Columbia, we knew that was going to impact the football stadium. However, we have had a benefit in this school district for many years to run two complexes. We run our football stadium where the football team obviously plays, but we also have a soccer complex. So we run two facilities. Okay, that's been a benefit for the district for a long time. It's not the most cost-effective thing, and truthfully, it's something that most school districts do not have the luxury to do.
That's true.
Here, when we pass this levy, we're going to have to do something with our football stadium. However, it's very important to know, no decisions have been made on our football stadium. Our Board of Education has not taken any action on moving the football stadium in any way, shape, or form. Our Board of Education has asked our operations director, Mr. John List, who John is very well regarded in our district, to go out and come back to the Board of Education with a plan to move our football stadium if and when we are successful in passing the facility to build our new high school. That is the plan that will be in place, but no decisions have been made. Interestingly enough, the projected cost to move a football stadium have nothing to do with the millage request that we are asking, nothing to do with the $59 million high school attempt to pass a high school facility plan.
It'll be self-funded.
It will be self-funded. So what I have shared with the community in relation to athletics here, I don't believe athletics in any way is going to slow down. Right? We're still going to have a girls soccer team. we're still going to have a girls track team. We're still going to have a boys soccer team. We're still going to have a boys cross country team. We're still going to have track and field. We're still going to have football. I would venture to say if we build new facilities and if we build a new athletic facility where the soccer complex is, parking is going to be enhanced. The community is going to be very well received, and we are probably going to expand athletic opportunities, because everywhere that I've been, when you build new facilities, there are other sports that will also look to come in. Primarily, I would think lacrosse. The other item is, if we move that football stadium, I would venture to say that that will be a turf field. Correct. That will allow much more use of the turf field. And even like our marching band can practice on that turf field as well, which is something they can't do now. So I hope that has answered the facility question in relation to the football stadium. And here's what I know. I know that when you enhance your academic facilities and you enhance your athletic facilities, everything rises. Now, Mark, you didn't ask this question, but I'm going to talk a little bit about our football complex right now.
Yes, please do, because we've been there on Friday nights and I've seen it for myself.
We have been there on
I'm
Friday
only new with the district for 2 months,
Okay.
but I've seen it.
So, listen, I love watching the Bucks on Friday nights. It's fantastic. We have a great, kids are great, program's great, love watching the band. It is, Friday nights are a lot of fun. Friday nights aren't work for me. They're fun, right?
I agree.
I've also been at that facility now for 2 years, and I would say that facility certainly has also shown its age. In the time frame that I have been here, I know that what we need to do on a Friday night when this place is packed is we don't have appropriate restroom facilities attached to our complex. We have to rent and bring them in, right? We have electrical issues at that football stadium. When, a couple weeks ago, the scoreboard went out for a long time, right? We had a hard time turning it back on. When you go to the concession stand at our football facility, you're probably going to be in line for a bag of popcorn for a couple quarters. And that's not because of the boosters. The boosters are fantastic who are running the booster booth, but it's just the sheer size and the demand is being asked versus what we can do. We had a scary situation this year with one of our student athletes that got hurt. And the student athlete's fine. Everything worked out okay, thank God. But when that was going on, we had a very difficult time getting the appropriate services to that student athlete because of our facilities.
Yeah, safety's got to be.
So safety has to be a concern. So as I love Alumni Stadium, and certainly every time that we are playing there, I will be there on a Friday night. But I also know that if we get the opportunity to pass this facility plan for our schools, and the school district takes on from their own money, takes on Mr. List's recommendations, if he makes them, to move the athletic facility, to move the football stadium, what we are going to build as a result is going to be significantly better than what we have right now.
I think you've already answered this question, but maybe a quick once over again. Why not just renovate the junior high?
Yeah, that's a great question. We've heard it a little bit, although I haven't heard it too often. But building a new high school is just more cost effective and more in the strategic long-term goals of the district. So clearly we've heard from a few people that just renovate the junior high school. Well, first of all, it would not qualify for any state funding whatsoever.
Oh, that hurts.
We talk a little bit about the Ohio Facilities Construction Commission, and we know at some point the school district will be eligible for rebates, so to speak, through the OFCC. At some point that will happen. If we renovate the junior high school, they will not do that. So, that seems to many people, not just me, to be a waste of our resources. Building a new high school is going to provide modern, safe, and efficient learning opportunities. There's going to be state-of-the-art technology, state-of-the-art facilities. Go into our junior high school right now, the technology is not state-of-the-art. I heard an example from a parent not too long ago who told me that her son did not have the ability to appropriately charge his tech that he needed in the classrooms that he was at the junior high school, just because there weren't enough electrical outlets. You hear from junior high school parents and junior high school students that every time that it rains, and it rains hard in our district, in that building, there's going to be significant concerns. And that has nothing to do with the maintenance of the building or our custodians. Our maintenance people are fantastic. Our custodians are world class. They make this place look great. But the building was built in 1957 and just needs to be replaced. A new high school will also be designed to allow for future additions if the community talks about it. Meanwhile, let's not forget, we are going to make the necessary updates and improvements to our current high school, so when our junior high school students are moved there, they can be there for a number of years as well. So at the end of the day, this plan allows for us to use the best of our resources while still providing excellent educational facilities for all of our students.
Great. Jeff, I know you're not an architect or construction manager. However, should the district be successful in November, what is the construction timeline, and when can we expect to potentially bringing new facilities online?
Mark, I love the way you asked that question. I certainly hope that that is the result of all of this, that we are successful in November here. And it'll be a fast timeline. So if we happen to pass this issue in November of 2024 here just in a few days, we would actually begin construction of a new high school in the fall of 2025. So less than a year from right now, we would be beginning the construction phase.
Awesome.
There will be design phase, and we would have to certainly, receive feedback from the community, receive feedback from our teachers and employees, receive feedback from our students, and then start the design phase. Okay, if everything goes as planned, we anticipate that we would be completed in fall of 2028. We would finish the necessary upgrades to the existing high school and move our junior high school students to the new high school. And once all that's done, we would demolish the existing junior high school, and that would immediately improve our traffic flow in the district. But it is a quick and tight time frame, Mark. If we are successful in November of 24, just here in a few weeks, in fall of 2028, we could be welcoming students into a new high school.
That's awesome. I've been part of construction projects in past districts in Warren City Schools and in Strongsville. It's an exciting time. Those new buildings open up. Kids are excited. The parents are excited. The staff is excited. It just adds extra energy to your day, and it's a good thing for the entire district, the entire community.
And Mark, my last point on that, but I'm going to ask you a question if you don't mind.
Sure.
But what happens to the junior high school? It really is pretty simple. We would be in the junior high school until the high school is open, until the current high school is renovated and updated for our junior high school students, and then we would demolish our junior high school. All right, Mark, I'm going to turn to you once again, because this is kind of a finance question a little bit, but what happens if the bond doesn't pass?
Well, obviously, if the bond doesn't pass, and I can't speak for the board, we both know, but the board would have to make a decision on what's our next step. Should they try again or not? But if the bond doesn't pass, the junior high, the situation there does not go away. The building is still 67 years old, and every day it gets older. Every day the kids can't charge their Chromebooks, and they have leaking roofs and other issues in that building that truly need to be addressed. And it's not a repair kind of address. We truly need to replace the building. But if we don't pass the bond issue, we're going to have to come back probably at some point to replace that building. And that building cost will not be a $69 million building. Costs go up. There's a graph that we've shown before. In the last 15 years, the cost to build a home is doubled per square foot. So it's not exactly the same for commercial construction because of the way they're built, but it's gone up significantly over the past 15 years. So if we wait even one more year, the $69 million building, is it going to be 70, 73? I don't know, but it's going to go up. So the sooner we make the decision to build and get approval to build, the lower the cost to the taxpayer and to the district. Also, because the issues don't go away, if we don't pass, the board will have to make some very tough decisions about spending money on an old building where I'm not sure where there's a return on investment there. The building will not last forever, and putting a lot of money into it. Now, don't get me wrong, the building is warm, safe, and dry, and we do take steps to address issues as they come up. But we would much rather spend the money on maintaining newer buildings and buildings are going to have a much longer life than a 67-year-old building. The future of that building is what? 5 years, 10
Right.
years? Well, I'm not quite sure. The cost for this building is going to go up, and it's best if the community can get behind this issue now, so our students have the newer building sooner at a lower cost.
Yeah, so Mark, thank you. What I clearly heard the biggest summary point there is what you just said there. The cost is going to continue to go up, right? And I think, if I remember, haven't we heard that the $80 million ask in 2023, what does that come to now?
Yeah, the $80 million ask is up to $92 million.
Wow.
And it's a timing thing. It's not 1 year later, it's at least 2 years later to get started. And you're talking a bigger building. So those kinds of numbers, we don't make that up. The Ohio Schools Facilities Construction Commission, they're the ones who say, hey, look, cost per square foot is here, and it's projected to go there. And that's the kind of thing that we have to be well aware of as we think about our community and our future and our value that we put towards education.
So the time to build is now.
The time it's
now.
Jeff, there's been a lot of effort on your part and my part to communicate what we're doing to the community. Could you give a summary of maybe all the different efforts, all the different places we've been, the ways we're trying to communicate via, being in locations, newsletters, whatever? Can you summarize all the efforts just to tell people what we're doing, including website, all that stuff? There's
Sure.
been a lot of effort.
Oh, Mark, thank you. Yeah, it's been fantastic. Truthfully, it's been a great opportunity for me to meet the community. I feel so much more knowledgeable about the community now, and I've met so many great people that, when I first came here, I just started, so I didn't know them. So it's been an amazing opportunity. But man, we've been all over the place. Our community task force has been a big part of this. Our school administration, our operations director, our curriculum director, our people services director, our building principals, you name it. We've been all over the place. We started probably around Labor Day, formally getting out to places, and we were welcomed to the Valley City Street Fair.
Mm-hmm.
So we had a booth at the Valley City Street Fair for a number of days, and thank you to the Valley City Community Group for inviting us. That was an amazing opportunity to just kind of get out there and talk to people and show the visuals. That was when we first showed the visuals, and from there we have been welcomed to obviously all of our school-based organizations. Our PTOs have all invited us, and we've made presentations on the facilities to them. We've had booths set up at our soccer games, our football games, our open houses, our parent-teacher conferences. Those are things that we've done here at school. However, we also understand that we need to get this information out to the community. Mm-hmm. So I mentioned this earlier, that our newsletter that hopefully has been received in the mailboxes. If not, you will be getting it soon. Our newsletters went to every mailbox in the community for the first time in a long time, and our intention is to continue doing that. And clearly in the newsletter, besides an amazing amount of information regarding the amazing students and staff we have here, we have some information there on the facilities as well. In addition, we have been purposeful trying to get to all three of the townships here in the school district. Mm-hmm. We have been welcomed by the Buckeye area ministers to make a facilities presentation. We have been welcomed by Zion Church to make a presentation. We have been at York Township Hall. We are going to Liverpool Township on October 17th. We're going to see our friends in Litchfield on October 24th. So we're just trying to get out and provide information. It's interesting, Mark. We are permitted to provide information, you and I.
Yes.
As the superintendent and treasurer of schools, as our board members, we're permitted to provide information. That's what we've been doing. There are community groups doing some other things as well, but from an information perspective, that is what we've done. And again, I reference anybody to ask myself, the superintendent, or Mark, the treasurer, questions, and to please reference our website, because my Lord, there's a lot of information on our website. We also started there's been a Let's Talk Facts campaign that has been through our social media contacts that has been very informative, and our community has responded very well to that. So our effort to get as much information out as possible to the community.
There is one group that I especially enjoyed, the Buckeye Alumni Association that we went to one day. It was excellent to see so many people from so many different classes that were actually maybe a little bit older than I was, made me feel young again. But they're a very nice group. They wanted to chat with you and talk with you, etc. They were, obviously catching up with friends too. But they listened intently to the presentation we made and the effort we're undertaking. Want to thank that group for allowing us in there as well.
Yeah, I'm remiss for not mentioning that.
Well, you got a long list, Jeff.
That is a great group of people. In fact, this is where I got their pin. So they're the Buckeye pins that we all wear. So thanks to the alumni group. I would also offer the opportunity, if there anybody who's listening, if you have a community group, if you have a neighborhood group, if you have any type of a group that you would like us to come out and talk, we certainly will try to make that happen between now and November 5th. Mark, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I'd like to add one piece of insight from my perspective as a new treasurer for the district. I have been with 5 or 6 different school districts, and I'm not going to disparage the other districts at all. Please don't get me wrong, but I can tell you, Buckeye Schools is an awesome little gem right here in the Medina County, right outside of Medina area. I really think the community. I don't know if you understand what a great district you have. You have a very professional board, a lot of committed staff and teachers, bus drivers who care a lot. This district is a special school district. And I all the effort I see being put into the bond campaign and the task force and just the man hours being put towards this by the Political Action Committee, I am really impressed and just proud to be part of Buckeye. And I know I know I've only been here 2 months, but I'm blessed to be part of Buckeye, and I know this district is going to do great things. Thank you to the board for allowing me to be part of all this.
Mark, I couldn't agree more, and it's been a pleasure to be here for the last 14 months. Pleasure to work with you the last few months as well. And certainly our hope is we're going to get our facilities concerns addressed for the benefit of our students, our teachers, our parents, and this entire community for many, many years. I'd like to thank, before we close here, I'd like to thank Mike from Armstrong, who's just been fantastic in helping set this up, and thank you. I want to thank you for watching this. This has been fantastic for us to get this information to you. If you still have questions, I encourage you to go to our website. I also encourage you to email either Mark or I. I am at jstanton@buckeyeschools.org. Mark is at mdonley@buckeyeschools.org. My phone number is 330-722-8257, extension 1003. Mark's phone number is 330-722-8257, extension 1008. Thank you for the time you took in watching this. We appreciate that. And go Bucks.
Go Bucks.